Okay. Hi guys. So
Hello.
today I'm very happy to introduce Ms. Rabab Rangwala on board with us. So a brief introduction about Rabab. Rabab is a speech language pathologist from Mumbai, and her SLP journey began at Topiwala National Medical College, Mumbai. And she's currently pursuing her PhD at Northwestern University in a lab focusing on dysphagia under the mentorship of Dr. Bonnie Harris. And she graduated from Dallas, Texas, and gained her ASHA certification and was previously a practicing clinician there. So she's a strong advocate of evidence-based practice and has launched her Made in India SLP podcast, which is like absolutely adorable. And her interest lies in adult medical speech language pathology, focusing on swallowing, speech, and language therapy. And we are really happy to have you here with us, Rabab. And it's a demand from the audience to have this session, and we are really hoping for a great session.
Thank you. Thanks so much. I am glad to be here, help everyone out with the little bit I know about going to the US. And yeah, let's start. Ask me some questions, and I promise I'll try my best to answer.
Right. So just let's get started for the very basic question that every one of us have as beginning. So can you tell us about your learning experience since you have been there since some years, and what would you describe as your learning experience there?
So I would like to say that my undergrad education at TNMC and Nair hospital was such a big advantage to me. It was one step up for me because you know the way we practice, the way we learn, it's also hands-on. That it made my graduate studies in the US way more easier. I did do 4 years at Nair, and I think I just wanted a change, something different. I do have family in the United States, so that made it easier for the transition. And I got into UT Dallas, which was one of my top preferences of school, which is why I decided to go. It was a great experience for me. I enjoyed every minute. I learned so much. I had great mentors, great professors, great colleagues. It was definitely different from studying in India because everything there is very insurance based. So it's a lot of focus on documentation because your insurance claim won't be approved if you don't show accurate documentation about what you did during your session. Because of that, I focusing on my documentation skills was something I really did, something that I really learned. I would like to say that my clinical background in India helped me, made it, I think, easier for me to see patients because I was already used to seeing so many patients during our years in India.
Right.
That is something that I believe, if I'm right, undergrads, students in the USA did not do. So that was something that made me more prepared. And yeah, it is a learning curve. Um, Whether we like it or not, we do go with an accent, especially as a speech therapist. That's something that interferes in your clinical skills sometimes. But it's something that you can always deal with, something I dealt with. And just, it's a different country, different world, different kind of patient population. But if things are in different lives, it gets boring, right?
Yeah, I
So
completely agree to this point. Look, it's a learning curve. Like, it's always one step at a time. You can't really be completely prepared of what you're gonna face there. Anywhere rather.
of course, yeah,
Right.
definitely.
Okay.
Okay. I think that was great. And actually, there's a question like before actually landing in US, there is this whole lot of procedures, application procedure that we need to go through. So like, giving your GRE, giving your TOEFL, shortlisting your universities. So could you like just brief us about that particular, the entire procedure of getting there?
Yes. I did do the entire procedure recently before when I started my PhD at Northwestern. So I would like to think I know a little bit about it. Um, Firstly, transcripts. It takes a
Yes.
while to get them processed because we have to get it from, at least we had to get it from like the main university, not from our college. I don't know how it works for other colleges in India. Um, and there is a little bit of discrepancy in our internship versus our 3 years. Because our fourth year is usually our internship. So
Right.
it comes across as a 3+1, and some colleges do not approve of that. I know for a
Mhm.
fact that UT Dallas had to take some extra measures and documentations to get my 4 years approved as an undergrad education. So that is something that you should talk to the college you're focused on applying to. The next is, of course, your resume. Try to get a good GPA, that always helps. Um, the GRE was something that, oh my God, I was so annoyed.
Can
Math is
imagine.
not my favorite, but yeah, I would just say just do it. Like you just need to go give that exam, and there's always a second try. So try to do it sooner rather than later, so that you're not worried about anything else. Um,
Yeah.
I I do feel
I
a
would,
statement
can
of,
I, sorry to interrupt you,
yeah,
like, is
no
there like
problem.
a minimum score that we need to, keep in mind? Or like
Um,
every university will be different?
so I do know that anything above 310 is supposed to be good. You should check out the university's website because there are some universities that very explicitly specify what score they are looking for. But
Right.
since a few years, there are also some universities that do not look at GREs at all. Like they do not want that score.
Okay.
It is a very controversial exam, and it just depends on what your university you're looking at wants. So I would say that try to, you know, classify what universities you want to go to towards the start of your application process, just so you know what they are looking for and what you need to get, just like so you have a short-term goal.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Okay.
So did that answer your question?
Yeah, it does. It does.
Okay. So the GRE, then the statement of purpose is something that I spent a lot of time focusing on. I think it's like an interview. It's the only way you can get across your passion, your personality, your talents to the admissions committee. So that should be something that you're focusing on well. Make, I don't know, 50 people read it. So that you're getting feedback from other people, see maybe there's something you did wrong, something that doesn't sound right, something that can sound
Yeah.
better. Um, Something that I did was I also went an extra mile before I submitted my application, and I reached out to the professors just to tell them, hey, I'm
Oh,
interested in your program. Um, Here's my resume just for your reference. I'm currently working on my statement of purpose, but I will be submitting my application soon. Just so they know who you are. You're just not another one of
hmm.
those 500 applications that they're receiving. And
Right.
if there's,
Well, I think it's a very good point because I mean, we have no idea that this is supposed to be done. Like we would never do it
yeah,
here. Like, actually reaching out to our professors if we are in UG or PG in India.
yeah.
So I think that's a good point.
It I definitely had to do it for my PhD. It was a compulsion because I need to have a mentor before I apply.
Right.
But I don't
Right.
see any harm in doing it for your master's degree as well.
Mm.
You're just putting your name out there. And you never know, they have some good words of advice for you, something that can help your application. So why not?
Right. Right.
Correct.
Yes, so
Makes sense.
the GRE, statement of purpose, resume, of course, your main application, your transcripts. I think that pretty much is that it. Am I missing anything? I think that's pretty much it.
Right. Could you tell us
So I mean,
something
yeah, I think most of
about,
it and
yeah, could you tell us about how did you shortlist your universities or think that, like, how did you do that? How did you go about the entire procedure?
Yeah. So I did have a counselor. Um, I do have mixed feelings about them. I do feel like because our program is so niche, not many people know about the speech therapy programs out
Know
there.
Right.
about it.
Like
Yeah.
if you are going for an engineering degree, there are counselors who know every single engineering college.
Everything, yeah.
So I did my own research. I asked my seniors. So I reached out to a lot of my seniors from Nair who were already in the US, and they were amazing. Um, a good thing to do is also try to find people who are applying with you. Like I applied with
Mhm.
someone from Nair, and it was just great because we could like, I don't know, we had someone to talk to. Have you heard about this university? What do you think? Stuff like that. I also I always knew I wanted to do adult medical, so that was my focus. I did not apply to colleges that were known for their pediatric focused programs because
Okay.
that's just something I wasn't focused on. So that is something you can use to classify your college preference. Another thing that people usually do is apply to good colleges. I do think that you should be
Right.
realistic. Like I applied to, I believe, 9, and I applied to 3 mediocre colleges, 3 good, and 3 that I thought I would be very lucky to get into. So it depends, just be realistic. You don't want to be in a place where you have no admits. So
Yes.
you rather, just have something to fall back on.
Yeah,
Right.
this is like, again, in India, the entire thing is like, apply to the best one. You have to go to the best one, score the best, go to the best. That kind of mentality, I don't think that works in US that way. Correct me if I'm wrong. Is that?
The best, like we all want to go to the best school, but I rather I rather have something to fall back on. I'd rather have like one best college that or maybe like if I get, okay, if I have 5 admit letters, there are chances that I'm not going to get from 5 best colleges unless if
Right.
you're really lucky or you're a genius or you have a 4.0 GPA. The problem with, at least this is what I think, is not everything's based on your score. You don't know the cohort, the people who are applying with you, and there's
Mm,
no way to know that.
Right.
Maybe it just depends so much on your luck as well. So
right.
I'm sure everybody applying has a great resume and a great GPA, but there's no harm in being realistic. Also because it's an expensive process. Like you're putting in so much money just applying. So
Mm,
just make sure it's not something that you get no admits from and you're like, great, I spent like 50,000 rupees and I didn't get anything.
yeah.
Right.
Are there any other points that we should keep in mind for shortlisting? Like, of course, like what our domain, what we are interested in. But like, if someone's like me, I am still not clear if I would want to choose between adult and pediatrics. I love working with both, at least as of now. So,
Mm-hmm. Yes. So I went to Dallas and I went to Texas because my sister was there. So if you have any family member close by, trust me, it is amazing because you're going to be homesick, and having family there is the best thing. I would also keep in mind weather conditions. The
mm,
East Coast is notoriously cold. If you're someone who cannot deal with 3-4 months of crazy snow, you probably shouldn't do that.
Right.
Texas is
right,
known to be very, very hot, but I mean, it's yet manageable. The snow is something that's more difficult to deal with. I would also keep in mind standard of living. If if you're going to, let's say, a college in Arkansas versus a college in New York City, you know that your rent is going to be so expensive. So if that's something that's
right.
not in your financial budget, I wouldn't um, pay a lot of attention to it. Like, correct me if I'm wrong, but right now on US News and World Standards, University of Iowa is number 1 ranking. I think
Yeah.
so.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
standard of living there is very affordable. So I would keep in mind stuff like that. Of course, look at the US News and World Report rankings of colleges. and look at their professors, like, okay, is this someone you would like to learn from? What research are they doing? Because there are chances you'll be able to work in somebody's lab, stuff like that.
Okay,
Right.
makes sense.
Understood. Okay.
Yeah.
Fine. So one, let me just sum this up, the entire application. So I think first, obviously, get your documents in place, your resume, your transcripts. Along with that, keep your shortlisting process ready. Like, what is your interest? Try figuring that out. And then give your GRE you see the requirements of that particular university and then prepare for your GRE. And one person, we've received a question from a viewer, like, is IELTS also required by any colleges in US or is it more TOEFL based? If you have any idea
I
about that.
I think when I applied for my masters, I only gave my TOEFL. I did give my IELTS for my PhD, but it wasn't required. But I think IELTS is more Canada based versus US based.
Right.
Okay. Fine. All right.
Okay.
So
So
I think we,
yeah, so
yeah,
I'll
continue,
just
Shravik,
go with the
continue.
next question. Can you tell us about some financial aspects involved? Could you throw a light on that? And any scholarships? Did you take
Mhm.
help of those or something?
Yes. So I did have a bunch of scholarships, which made it financially pretty easy for me. Um, if anyone tells you going to the US is cheap, they're lying. It is an expensive procedure. Um, I'm not saying it's not affordable because eventually you can pay it off, get a loan, pay it off, and it's not too bad. I did get a scholarship from UT Dallas, which means I paid in-state tuition. I didn't pay um, international student tuition, which makes a big difference. So my tuition was almost 50%. I
Right.
would
Oh, wow.
say look into scholarships no matter what. Like, okay, let's say if I got into New York City versus another small town college, but the small town college is giving me a scholarship, I would go there hands down because in the long run, it's only 2 years and you can move. It's better than having double of a loan sitting on your head.
Makes sense.
That's my opinion. Must be different for other people. Um, Something you would keep in mind is that, of course, there's tuition, there's rent, food, living expenses. My school needed me to have a car because I had clinic somewhere else and I had class somewhere else. So that's something you would have to look into your school program. What do they need? So buying a car was an expense for me. Also, according to our F1 student visa, we cannot work for the first year.
Oh,
So keep
Okay.
in mind that for the first year, you're not really earning any money. So whatever, you have to plan out your money. Um, and for the I-20, when you get an I-20, which is when you go to the visa consulate for an appointment, you need an I-20. And to get that I-20, you have to show your college um, a minimum amount of money in your bank account.
Right.
So just, making sure you have that proof of financial support to show your school so that they can issue that I-20. Um, there, I did apply to another scholarship called the Tata Memorial Scholarship.
Okay.
Tata Memorial, yes, something like that. It's a Tata scholar. You become a Tata scholar, and in Bombay, they're based in Bombay, and I did apply for scholarships for them, and I got a interest-free loan as well as a gift scholarship from them. So I would say just to apply everywhere. The fact that we come from such a niche program really helps because you're not just another person doing another common program. Your likelihood of getting a scholarship is higher because you're doing something different. And it is an honorable profession to be a part of.
Definitely.
So look into scholarships, look into things. The minute you get an admit letter, my next step would be to email the professor asking for
right.
scholarships. Like, is there something you can do? Am I applicable for something? Can I apply for something?
All right. So it's like we have to, separately apply for these scholarships which are from the university. Because I know that,
It depends.
yeah, I think some of them just
Yeah.
consider you for everything and then they let you know, which you are
Yes.
with.
Hmm.
All right.
Yes, it depends on the program. Like, I didn't have to ask UT Dallas, but I do know my friends who had to ask their college for how, if they're applicable or eligible for a scholarship.
All right. Great. Could you give us like, I know of course it's going to be different for every college, but like an approx tuition that we should keep in mind, before planning this entire thing?
Okay, let me do my math. So UT Dallas had 4 semesters a year. Um, so around, okay, so that's fall, spring, summer. So
Okay.
sorry, 3 semesters a year. So 6 semesters, and I paid around 7,000 with my scholarship.
Oh, okay.
So I would say it's something, if I'm not wrong, it's some 40,000, 45. Your I-20 would have the exact figure of money that you would need to show, and I believe that's 1 year tuition.
Okay.
Okay.
Right.
Got it.
And every website, every college website has the minimum number of credits they need you to take and how much each credit costs. So you can just calculate how much that would be for a year or for a semester.
Right.
Okay.
Okay. Urvisha, you can go
So
ahead.
moving,
Yeah.
yeah, I will. Okay, so um, moving on from the application part, like once you reach there, how are things changing for you? Like, in terms of lifestyle, in terms of, being with those people around, like, you've never been there. How did things change studying in a completely new school?
Yeah, it is a very different experience. Um, our profession is not very diverse in the United States, so in so many people in my program. So it can be a little isolating, but at the same time, a great experience because you're interacting with different cultures, you learn different things, you celebrate different things. It's a new experience. Um, I would say, pretty sheltered. Everyone in Bombay is pretty sheltered. But once you go there, you have to do your own stuff, own cleaning, own laundry, own everything, own cooking. So it's a learning experience, but it's definitely something that changes you for the good. So that's great. You're just more independent, which is perfect. Um, it does take a little bit of time to overcome the cultural, I wouldn't say differences because they're not differences, but just disparities. Just learning to, do different things. It's not like India. Um, but that's why we went to experience something new. And you just, I don't know, it grows on you. And it's pretty nice. You miss home, of course, but um, the programs are usually, and the universities are usually very welcoming. There is a lot of things happening. They keep you on your toes. You have to study all the time. Um, it's pretty a fun experience, I would say.
Okay, so I mean, since you're mentioning this, like, could you just tell us how exactly are the grad schools different there? Like, in what aspect?
Um, how are they different in welcoming you?
Yeah, and the way they function, like the entire, like they have semesters. You said you're always on your toes. So how is it, man? Lectures plus your clinics. How does it happen there?
Yeah. So in a speech therapy program, and of course I do not know about every program, this is more from my personal experience. We had classes and we had practicals, and they pretty much keep you very busy. So in my term, we had
Rabab,
something
1 second.
Rabab,
taking 40
Can
odd
you?
just a
credits.
sec.
So you're taking, do you want me to start again?
Mm,
Yeah.
Yes. So, of course, I'm not speaking from anyone else's experience. This is more my personal experience with school. We have 3 semesters and 40 odd credits, something like that. So it was a pretty busy time because you're taking around 3 to 4 classes, plus you have practicals. Um, and it's your time to learn, like the practical. It is every speech therapy program, I would say, is pretty difficult. You're not coming here to chill. They do keep you on your toes. There's stuff to do all the time, and if you want to maintain a 4.0 GPA, which is also usually your scholarships based on your GPA. If you don't do very well, sometimes it does get revoked.
Oh,
So you have to be on your toes, make sure you're doing your best, and even though it's so crazy, I loved it. You're learning so much. It's something new every day. You're interacting with patients. You're learning academically. Everything's research based, and it's just a great learning curve.
okay,
all right.
nice. Could
And
you tell us?
how's the caseload? Yeah, like how's the caseload there? Like if you compare it with Nair.
Um, every speech therapy disorder is the same around. It is almost the same if I compare it to Nair. It's just the way seeing your patient, your treatment protocols, all of that are different because, as I said, it's all insurance based. You
Insurance.
have to, um, yes, you have to like submit repeated claim requests to the insurance to make sure therapy can keep going on. Um, it varies in which setting you are seeing the patient. So, like if what I did during grad school is I tried to get a practical internship in every different setting. So I did outpatient, I did inpatient, I did skilled nursing facility, I did long-term acute care, and ICU.
Okay.
So that way
Mm.
now that's your time to experience every different setting so that you know what you like the best and where you eventually want to work. So
Hmm.
caseload just differs depending on that. Like, of course, your skilled nursing facility is more dementia, more neurological disorders,
Right.
more degenerative diseases. Whereas your inpatient rehab is more dysphagia, more head and neck cancer, traumatic brain injury. Your outpatient it depends. Is it adult based? So you're seeing more dysarthria, more aphasia. Is it pediatric based? You're seeing language disorders, articulation, fluency, stuff like that. So your caseload just differs based on your setting and what setting you're doing your practical in. And that's a great time to learn and experience all of it so that eventually you know where you want to focus your job hunting on.
Right. Pretty exciting, is it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes, it is. It is amazing.
Okay. Just rapid fire round, kind of. Can you tell us the best
Okay.
part of the grad school and the challenging part of the grad school, according to you?
Hmm. I think my best part would be the different internships. It was exciting to learn something new every 3 months, different caseload, different experience, different documentation style, different treatment style, assessment style, everything. You're learning something new all the time and patient interaction. And you're seeing it live, it's not something you're learning from a textbook. So that would be my best part of grad school.
Challenging? What were your challenges?
And challenging. I think being away from home is challenging because you're learning to go to school and at the same time you're learning to not sleep hungry, which I did many times. To eat not just you're trying to maintain a healthy lifestyle while studying and just learning how to do so many things which are suddenly on your plate. Um, I feel like everybody hears stories and you don't realize
Yeah,
what it is
exactly.
till you go there. But not to make it sound morbid, it's great. Like now it's an independent way of living, which I really like, and you're just learning new stuff. So yeah, I think we all become adults very quickly there.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes.
Perfect.
And as Rushali knows, in a hostel, it's pretty much the same thing, right? Yeah.
Yeah. Perfect. Yeah. Risha, you want to go ahead?
Yes, I think so about the grad school. Okay, I think I just missed one question. Like, you said we can't work in the first year, but I mean, there are placements that we get, right? Like, we can do some sort of job, like in your department or in the college itself. We can't do that either, or
No, so you can
what?
do on-campus jobs.
Okay.
So I went to a school that opportunities were pretty limited, which is why I did not do anything in my first year. Uh, Honestly, because I just couldn't find it. It was very difficult. So I would talk again after I get an admit letter. I would try to talk to my professor to see if you can get a research assistantship or a teaching assistantship, graduate assistantship. That's usually the best on-campus job because you're learning at the same time while earning money.
Exactly.
Your
Yeah.
focus should be to get some kind of job in your first year. It was something I couldn't figure out, but if I had planned ahead, maybe I could have.
Mhm.
Actually, I don't even know if that's true. My program did not have that opportunity for me. So that would be something that again you would, once you get admits, you would reach out to the professors and see if that's something that can be done and go from there.
Right.
All right. Okay. All right. So I think this was about the grad school, like everything about it. Now, if someone, because we've received a lot of questions on this particular line, like, for you,
Working.
you started working directly after your MS over there. So, like, what
Mm-hmm.
if somebody who's completed their MS in India and wants to directly work in US? What's the scope? What's the application process? Could you brief us on that?
To be honest, I don't know. It's something that I haven't done, but I
Yeah.
do know that there are programs to get your C's and come to the US. I do know a few people who have done it, but I don't think I would be the best person to answer this question because I know more about doing a master's than working there. So
Okay.
I can definitely talk more on that.
Yeah, definitely. If you could let us know on that
Yeah.
topic as well.
Um, so something to remember, something that I did not know, and it was a very difficult path, is that every speech therapy program in the US is not STEM. That means, okay, so this is the visa process is complicated.
Okay.
I fully did not understand. I don't think anybody fully understands it. But after you finish school, you get a 1 year OPT, which is your optimal practical training period. In that
Mm.
period, you complete your CFY, which is your clinical fellowship to get your CCCs.
Right.
And within that optimal training program, you get one chance to apply for your H-1B visa, which goes through a lottery system as of today. Um, if I take an example of people who are in an engineering program, their program is a STEM program, which means they get 3 years of optimal training and three chances to apply for the visa through the lottery. It is important to
Um,
remember that as speech therapists, we get only one turn. After that, you can, um, my focus was to find a CAP exam job, which means working in a non-profit hospital like NIRE. Um, because they do not go through the lottery system. Getting that
oh,
job is insanely difficult
Hmm.
because not many nonprofit hospitals apply for visas. So I did not get picked in my first lottery, and luckily, very luckily, I got a nonprofit job within the next month, and I got my visa approved.
Nice.
So
so how,
it is,
sorry, just to understand, so how much time do we get? Like if, we're not selected in the lottery, how much time do we have to,
60
make a
days.
decision?
60 days or 90 days, something like that. I believe it's 60.
Okay,
Yes, 60 days.
okay.
Uh,
Okay.
This is
Otherwise, you
scary.
leave the country. Yes, I wish somebody had told me, because I rather know than not know. Because
Yeah, of course.
trust me, more often than not, you do not get picked in the lottery. So
Hmm.
either you figure out something else, or you go back to school, or you get a non-profit cap exempt job. So you have to remember that this is a risk you accept when you go to the US. And I do understand, and I'm aware that everybody puts in so much financial, so much money, So coming back after 1 year is not ideal, but this is something that can happen. So it's better to keep it in mind.
Hmm.
Yes,
Yeah,
definitely.
Definitely.
It's
yeah,
a big part, I feel.
yes. And also, hate to be the one to burst the bubble, but you're one of the very few people who need a visa in the speech therapy world, at least as an Indian. So getting a job with need for a visa sponsorship does make it tricky. Is it impossible? Of course not. You can get it. Everybody does. But it does get a little tricky because you're competing with people who do not need a visa sponsorship, and
Yeah.
it's common sense, right? If I'm the boss, why should I rather choose someone else? um, so try to start making um, your job, like, impacts for your job, impressions with your professors, impressions with people who you're doing your clinical rotations with, right from the beginning. Because if
Mhm.
there's a job opportunity and they think you're a great fit, then it's going to work out. Don't wait until, like, 2 months before you need a job to start applying, because then it becomes very tricky.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
And you need to get a job 90 days after you graduate, and there's a date you have to give on your employment authorization card. You have to get a job 90 days after that date, or else
Oh,
you're in illegal status. So there are all these rules, and I know it sounds scary. I don't mean to sound scary. I just want everyone to know that this is, it's serious business. So
yeah.
Right.
you have to keep in mind that you're accepting all of this. There's good and bad and in everything, right? This is the consequences that come with being an immigrant, and it's important to know them so that you'll make sure that you're on top of your game.
Right.
Yes.
Yes. Thank you so much for all of this, Rabab. And do we have any other questions to be covered, Urvisha?
Yeah,
I think.
so I think one of the most important questions comes when, about the income and the expenses. Like if you're
Hmm.
working there, so, like what, I mean, it's a very straightforward question we've received from a lot of one, like, what is the kind of income we should expect? Like, if you put it that way. And what other expenses? I mean, of course, there's rent, there's food, but, if we have to give it a figure, how would you give us that?
Yes. Um, so I did my schooling in Texas, which is a very affordable state. I did have tuition, and then I had rent, which was around $500, $600. Depends on how where you want to live, what kind of life you want to live. Do you want to live alone? What kind of apartment you want? All of that. Um,
Hmm.
so I would catch around 400, $500 dollars for that, and then there's food and other expenses. So if if I remember right, I would catch around $700 to $800 for living expenses every month, which is
Okay.
around what, 40,000 rupees, 45, something like that.
Yeah, yeah.
Right.
Which is pretty much India standards, I think, if you're paying rent.
Hmm.
So that is
But
something
if
that.
someone is in NYC, like the rent and everything would go up to like I think it would cross $1,000.
Yes, of course. Again, as I said, Texas is an affordable state, and that was one of my reasons for choosing Texas. If you
Hmm.
are going to an expensive state, naturally it's expensive. It's like, I would say Texas is like living in a small town in India versus living in Bombay, which is New York.
Right.
So that is
Right.
something you have to keep in mind. Um, you can just do like a simple Google search about how much standard of living costs. And I think the US World and News Report does have like an estimate of how much money would need to live in that city.
Hmm.
So that would help you. Um, Regards to pay, I have only worked in California, so I do not know about any other state. Are you earning a lot of money if you compare to your other STEM STEM degree counterparts? No, but I think our job is extremely fulfilling. It also, I
Definitely.
would like to say that we have great job security, because this is not a job where they won't need you tomorrow. It is a job that is
Yeah.
serving other individuals and patients, and it has good job security. um, Again, Asha has, I believe, a link on their website that specify pays for every state, about like an average pay for every state. So that is something you should look into when
Okay.
you are applying for jobs, because you want to make sure you're getting paid by the state standard.
Right. Yeah.
Yes.
And just one last question. Could you, of course, I know it's again going to be different depending on your interest,
Mhm.
your field of interest, but like, what are some good schools that you would want to just list out a few if somebody who's listening to this,
Hmm.
just to get an idea, a start point, that you can start looking from here.
So again, it's a very biased question. I do think UT Dallas was an amazing program. Um, Other than that, now I do think Northwestern is an amazing program as well. Um, I'm sorry, I don't really know, because it would be difficult for me to judge
Right.
any program from the outside if I'm not in the program. But I have heard good things about, like, NYU is a great program. These are programs that I applied for my PhD in and got offers. So I know that they are good programs. UT Austin is an amazing program. NYU is a great program. Purdue is a really good school. Um, there is University of Pittsburgh, which is great. Pennsylvania State is great. Um, Wait, I think it's University of Pennsylvania and Pittsburgh State University, something
Okay.
like that.
Hmm.
I applied to Arizona State. I really liked that program. Where else did I get? Um, Yes. So I would encourage everybody to look into programs like UT Austin, Northwestern, UT Dallas. They are programs that are, I would say, in the top, on the top of your criteria of applying. But these are good universities to have in that criteria, because they do accept individuals. Also, actually, I may be wrong, because if I remember right, UT Austin does not accept our 4-year degree from
Oh,
India.
Okay.
So that is again something you should check.
right.
Of course, I applied for my PhD, so it was different. But
Hmm.
these are all things that you should check, and go from there.
All right.
Okay.
Yes,
I think,
NGH is a program I really like. It is very expensive, but a great program.
which one?
MGH IHP, so it's Massachusetts General Hospital Institute of Health Professionals. It's
Oh,
affiliated with Harvard. Great program. Yep.
oh wow.
Yes.
Nice. All right. Um, just one second. I mean,
Mhm.
we'll have to cut this part, but there was exactly, yeah.
Okay. Thank you so much, Rabab, for answering all our questions. Would you like to add on something?
Yeah, I actually would. I do want to mention this, that I know that I, it's a weird thing to say, but I hope everyone realizes I'm coming from a good place. There are many countries out there that do not have visa restrictions as strict as the US. I would encourage everyone
Yeah.
to look into it. Um, if I did it all over again, I would look into it because, as I said, I'd rather know more than less. So, just look what's out there. There are many other countries. They're offering great programs. They're doing great research. I do feel like the US is amazing. Like, of course, I'm there. I love it. I love the programs. I love the experience. But the immigration laws do make things tricky sometimes. So
Right.
I would say that, just there's no harm in looking. So please look.
Definitely. I think now, like especially now, because of the entire COVID thing and the entire thing on the visa which is happening, I think people should
Yeah.
actually do look, outside US also, because I mean we don't know what's gonna actually end up, what's going to be the visa laws for us in the few months. I think in 2021,
Yeah.
yeah, it's going to be difficult, is what I understand from this entire situation.
Right.
Yes. It is a tricky process. It's not impossible again, but um I would keep all my options open.
Definitely, yes. Thank you so much, Rabab. Like I think you've answered all our questions, and I think I've given us extra information also. So thank you so much.
Exactly.
And
Yeah,
I
I'm glad. Yeah.
what I understand from this, like this entire conversation is, as you said, it's a tricky. The entire thing is tricky, and there are so many points to keep in mind. So I think somebody who really wants to go should actually, plan well in advance, and again, talk to people as much as possible, because I think that's one thing that really, really helps
Yes, I
understanding your
have
options.
had great mentors throughout my whole educational process. I've had so many people to talk to. Um, I believe I called Rinky every few months. Rinky Varandani Desai with, hey Rinky, now this is wrong. What do I do next? And she's been amazing for me. So it makes it easier when you have someone who's been through this process. So make
Right.
sure everything's easy in a group, and there's always something you miss out. So find someone who's done it or someone who can do it with you, and it makes it much easier.
Right. Definitely. So thank you so much, Rabab. The entire motto of keeping this session was exactly because I remember that I had called you some time back, and because I was planning to go and I had such a lengthy discussion, then I figured out that so many are like me, confused, who do not know what to do, where to go. So there at least has to be a start point. So this definitely, this recording, this session is going to be helpful to so many out there. So thank you so much for giving your time. Thank you.
Yes, yes, I'm glad. If anybody is listening to this confused, we've all been there. So you're going
Oh,
to
yeah.
figure it out. Um, the internet's a wonderful place. There's so much information. Asha is a great resource. Your college website, whichever college you're applying to, is such a great resource. The speech therapy program ranking would be something I would look at. So just look. All the information is out there, and you'll figure it out.
Yes, sure.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Rabab.
Okay. Of course. Thank you, Rose. Thank you for having me.